You're sitting across a fire from someone you shouldn't be thinking about. It's 15,000 BC. You know they belong to someone else. You know their family and your family don't exactly see eye to eye. You know that what you're feeling right now is going to cause problems. Real, possibly fatal problems. And yet here you are, starring, feeling something your brain has absolutely no protocol for handling. Nothing has changed. Here's the thing about love in the ancient world that nobody really prepares you for. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't private. It wasn't even really yours. In a hunter-gatherer band of 20 to 50 people, your love life was everybody's business because it had to be. Who paired with whom wasn't just a personal decision. It was a political one, a survival one, a decision that rippled through food access, alliances, group cohesion, and the very real question of whether your tribe made it through winter. So when someone fell for the wrong person, it wasn't just awkward, it was a crisis. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer societies, the closest living window we have into how our ancestors organized themselves, consistently find the same pattern. Mate choice was rarely just about two people. It involved families, elders, intergroup diplomacy. Marriages were often arrangements made between bands to cement alliances, share resources, reduce conflict. You didn't just marry a person, you married their group. And if you went rogue on that system, if you chose someone your community hadn't approved, someone from a rival band, someone already spoken for, you weren't just breaking a social rule. You were pulling a thread that held the whole structure together. And people absolutely did it anyway. Because here's what the neuroscience tells us. The brain systems that drive romantic attachment are ancient, deep, and spectacularly indifferent to social consequences. The dopamine surge, the obsessive focus, the inability to think about anything else, these aren't modern phenomena. They're the same systems that lit up in the skull of every human who ever lived. Love, in its raw neurochemical form, does not care about your tribe's alliance strategy. It does not care about the arrangement your parents made when you were 12. It cares about one thing, and it is not rational, and it never has been. So what actually happened when it went wrong? In most cases, the community intervened. Hard. Anthropological records show that in small band societies, violations of pairing norms were handled collectively, not by courts, not by laws, but by social pressure so intense it was essentially impossible to resist. Gossip was the original enforcement mechanism. Public shamming, ostracism. In a group of 30 people where leaving meant almost certain death, being cut off from the group wasn't a metaphor. It was a sentence. In more serious cases, especially when existing bonds were broken or intergroup conflict was triggered, the consequences were violent. Research into conflict patterns among contemporary forager societies and historical accounts from first contact records consistently shows that disputes over mates were among the most common causes of within-group violence. Not resources, not territory, people. Which means your ancestors weren't just dying for food and shelter. Some of them were dying for someone they couldn't stop thinking about. But here's where it gets genuinely interesting. Because the wrong person wasn't always who you think. Across many ancient cultures, the most dangerous romantic choice wasn't someone from a rival group. It was someone from your own. Anthropologists have found evidence of remarkably strong incest taboos in virtually every human society ever documented, not just between immediate family, but extending outward to cousins, clan members, people raised together even without biological relation. The Westermarck Effect, the psychological mechanism that kills romantic attraction between people raised in close proximity, appears to be a genuine evolved feature of human psychology, designed specifically to push desire outward, toward the unfamiliar, toward people from other groups. Which means the wrong person, evolutionarily speaking, was almost always someone from outside. And falling for them wasn't a malfunction. It was the system working exactly as intended, creating the pull toward outgroup connection that, over thousands of years, is probably responsible for most of the genetic mixing and intergroup alliance building that kept our species adaptable. Love aimed at the wrong person was, in many cases, pointing in exactly the right direction. It just arrived at the worst possible time, in the worst possible social context, with consequences nobody was prepared to manage quietly. Some things are genuinely universal across human experience. Language, music, tool use, burial of the dead, and the specific, catastrophic experience of wanting someone you are absolutely not supposed to want. It shows up in every culture, in every era, in every form of storytelling humans have ever produced. The oldest love poems in existence, Sumerian, written over 4,000 years ago, already contain the vocabulary of longing, of desire that exceeds what's sensible, of love that refuses to behave. We did not invent any of this. We inherited it, from people who sat across fires feeling things they had no words for, in worlds where feeling the wrong thing carried consequences that make modern heartbreak look manageable. The fire goes out eventually. The feeling doesn't always.